Hello, and we're here with John Giacchillo, and we're here to talk about their design and planning process where they engage Green Design Solutions to work with them on their housing project. Hi John.
Hi Janine.
How are you?
Good, thank you for having me.
My pleasure, thank you. Thanks a lot for coming. Could you please tell us a little bit about your building project, your home building project?
Yeah, so the history of where this project began was that we had a house in Kew, family house, a nearly century-old building that my family, my parents, my sisters and I lived in for over 30 years. And we recently moved out and we thought it was about time that we demolished this drafty house that's outdated and falling apart and decide to do something creative with it and innovative and really something meaningful with the land.
So you wanted to develop it, you were going to demolish and you want to develop the land for what purpose?
The purpose was to have two townhouses, place that my parents or my sisters and I could live in, to be shared between the family. And this place will also have to have underlying principles such as sustainability, livability, but also has to be something iconic and I guess a role model for sustainable housing in Australia.
That's fantastic. And are they about your design principles? Did you want sort of traditional sort of look and appeal, or did you want more contemporary feeling for the houses as well?
We definitely sought a contemporary feel, given that we wanted to future-proof this house, not only with its sustainable features, but also in its appearance and aesthetic. It has to blend in, but also to prove something unique that people can aspire to look like.
Yeah, a bit more style and maybe a bit of style as well in the built form.
Absolutely, yeah. It has to be architecturally pleasing as well as sustainably pleasing.
Yeah. So you mentioned livable before. So can you explain what you were looking to achieve for the livable aspect of the homes?
Yeah, so livable as a term can encompass a few things, but we want it to be practical for a bunch of different needs. So this could be accommodating different age groups. So for example, we can have strategically placed handrails for people who are elderly or mobility-wise are challenged, as well as larger doorways to accommodate wheelchairs. But then also factoring in that, you also have younger demographic like myself, the youngest in the family, and who often host parties or events and want something fun out of the house, something that they can really feel like they're home in. So I guess features like a deck or entertaining rooms, larger open spaces for events like that. So livable really in that term is just about accommodating a large variety of needs.
And I also remember one of the first things you and your family mentioned to me was that you wanted to have a smaller footprint.
Correct,
on the house, on the property. So what was that around? What was that? Where did that come from? And what do you think we've achieved?
Smaller footprint for us meant reducing the need of a house, and in this case, we wanted to make sure that all the items that went into the house, all the inputs, were as neutral carbon or zero carbon as possible, that the outputs from the house would similarly be that as well. Less reliance on fossil fuels, but also about using physically also a smaller space, in that we want to make the best use of space as we can. And this was the biggest driving factor for us, given that we're in suburbs such as Kew. We didn't have large acres or large rolling hills of land. We wanted to make sure we can get the most out of a small space as possible. And this really drove our decision towards choosing your business, Green Design Solutions.
Yeah, thank you. And I think each block is around about 260 or 70 square metres each. But what's quite surprising, what we've been able to achieve is, even though we've got two houses on there and a driveway, we've only taken up about 60% of the footprint of the property because of the designs that we've actually incorporated. So it's really good to see your family sort of moving in towards that area, because what we see typically now is that Australians are moving to bigger houses, and we actually have the highest footprint per capita in the world, and that's really what we can't afford to keep doing that, because it takes up resources.
Absolutely.
And so from a sustainability perspective, what were the key drivers? You said before about neutral or carbon neutral, and so did you want to incorporate things like renewable energy generation and rainwater capture? Is that what you're after?
Absolutely. So we wanted to make the best use of the resources that fall into the land. So rain was one of those critical things, especially during dry summers in Australia. So we'll look at incorporating large underground rainwater tanks, and these will accommodate, trying to keep us, try to keep water supply available as best as we can throughout the year. And we also have things like thermal insulation, which will ensure that we keep the heat in during winter, but also protect us from the heat during summer. And there are a number of other factors as well, like polished concrete flooring, which acts as a thermal mass to retain the heat during winter as well.
Great. And with respect to the design or the layout of the house, you wanted to maximise, because you've got a very long, what's called a long east-west axis house. So that means you've got a really good opportunity to get bring in that north sunshine, the winter sunshine particularly.
Yes.
So that's what was important to you as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like you mentioned, we have quite a long house, which would allow us to draw on that sunlight more of the day. Given that we wanted to spend as little running this place as possible, it was about making it also livable and sustainable, but also maintainable. We don't want to have to keep maintaining it and keep it, using a large amounts of money spent on heating and cooling. So by leveraging the sunlight and the constraints of the house, we're actually able to use it to our benefit. And it was a great opportunity that we were able to seize. Okay, so let's summarise your project. You've got about a 600 square metre block in Kew, in an area which is being redeveloped. There's other properties within the street which are being redeveloped, and others are more heritage listed houses. So the idea was to actually develop the property to allow for 2 lots, 2 townhouses, and with later a subdivision of that property as well. And on your property, you didn't have any significant trees, but you had other tall or mature trees on adjoining properties, and so we needed to keep that in mind as well. So the process was we needed to come up with a design first, a design concept first, then design town planning drawings to achieve, to address any overlooking issues or overshadowing issues, which we were required to do under a planning permit. Then we had to undertake a planning application with the council and submit it as a dual occupancy. The process was then, went on for a number of months, and once we did finally get a permit, we were then able to finish the detailed working drawings. So what would you identify as your key needs for the project? Overall, we've had design and planning, but moving into the very beginning of it, or going back to the very beginning of it, what do you think? What do you recall? I could probably count off on my fingers the key needs. So one of them was sustainability, first and foremost. The other would be livability. And I think a third one would be comfort. So sustainability-wise, this has to be a place that people can look up to. This can't be a place that is falling behind the current trend of sustainability and ethical housing. It definitely has to be a place that people can aspire to learn from and to mirror. Livability, as I mentioned earlier, it has to be a place that can accommodate different requirements, whether it's age, mobility, personality even, social-wise or introverted-wise. And comfort, I think any home, regardless of its sustainability or its advantages or features, has to be comfortable to live in. Otherwise, it's not. It might be a house, but it won't be a home. So investing personal design requirements and investing time into it, and knowing what I wanted out of a house has definitely given me the chance to create a comfortable house, create a home for myself. And that's definitely been achieved. I can see that now.
So now what has your experience been in the design phase and the planning phase? Because they are really quite different, but they're integral, and you cannot apply for planning application without the initial design documentation as well. So from a design perspective, first and foremost, what's been your experience working with, myself at Green Design Solutions?
Okay, so the biggest benefit we've had working with Green Design Solutions in the design phase specifically has been to help us realise what we envision and to put into into drawing and design what our principles were for where we wanted to live in the future. Because we obviously had long-term goals, we had an ambition and values that we want in our future place, but we didn't have everything specifically. We didn't know what was available, what could be incorporated, and you had the experience and also the knowledge. So it's been very great. It's been actually excellent, really, having you there, guiding us along the way, and not forcing us down a chosen path, actually giving us options to choose, but you were able to help us follow a trail that we had in our mind loosely to a place that we have wanted to live in, truly. And it's been very pleasant, surprising actually, given this, because we didn't know what was capable. We didn't know what to expect. It was my first time doing this, and my sister was also involved in the project. It was her first time doing this. So it's been a very pleasant experience. There have been challenges, of course, along the way, but overall it's been definitely something that I am grateful for and don't regret coming to your business.
That's great, thank you. And so what about the planning phase, because that's obviously taken quite a bit of our time. So, what do you think the benefit of engaging another person to actually undertake the planning for you?
So the advantages of the design phase are completely different, I think, to the advantages of the planning phase. The biggest benefit we've had working with you for this was around stress relief. And given that Cynthia and I did not know what to expect, now in hindsight I look back and I'm extremely grateful that we did hire someone to help us through this planning phase. It's been a lot of drawbacks, a lot of unexpected obstacles, but we've been able to overcome that especially. And the greatest benefits and the greatest feedback we've seen from this phase has been a number of things, and one of those was that we've had no objections from any of the neighbours during this phase, which is I guess very rare given the circumstance of the project and also the location of it.
And I think it was positioning, the project to hopefully be, an icon for others in the area, because as we said earlier, your street is up for redevelopment, and so too are other areas around, around the vicinity. So if they can actually see that development doesn't have to be, a square box, a monstrous square box, but rather something that's been designed for the climate and be sympathetic to the site and the surrounding landscape, then hopefully we'll see more of these developments within the council area, so that'd be great.
Absolutely. And we set out, I personally set out with this project at the very beginning with a very lofty ambition that this will be a role model for the industry, not only in Australia but maybe worldwide, and that it will be featured perhaps at the Sustainable Living Festival in the coming years. And really it's about showing people that there is a balance. You don't have to live off the grid completely and live in the bush to have a sustainable house.
Exactly.
But you don't also have to buy a mansion with unused rooms to have plenty of space. It's about finding a balance, and I think we're kind of getting there slowly with people. But I think this opportunity here with the house has been, and will be, a great icon for people to look up to.
Yeah. So we've talked about livability and sustainability. So what's your philosophy for living?
My philosophy for living is a very, very good question. The rabbit hole can go down very far. I'll try to summarize as best as I can. I like to leave the world a better place than I found it, and that also includes for my living. I don't need a large space. I know that I can get away with a lot smaller space. People in around Asia do it. They live in small places very well. But also I want this to not detract from the earth. I want it to be something that lives in harmony with it. So I really want to have a place that I can feel comfortable in, given my needs. But I can also feel comfortable knowing that I live in that ethically, that it's not going to, in 30 years, 50 years, dissolve into potentially harmful particles, like other modern houses, but also is built to quality.
You were on a journey, and for both of you, and you shared, that was a shared journey for you and your sister as well, which is really great. And by actually, trying to find somebody who has a design company who actually has a specialty in sustainability and livability, is really the best step you can take, because they can, you know, offer you a whole lot of options, you know, that you might not have considered previously, and which reflects your ethics and your philosophies of living, which is really, really terrific. Can you tell us a little bit about what are some of the sustainability features that we've incorporated into your home?
Yep. So along the whole journey, we've looked at quite a lot of sustainable features. Some of the most notable ones that we've implemented include firmly broken double glazed windows, which is in addition to the normal double glazed windows. We've also got rainwater tanks, underground rainwater tanks, large capacity, and we've also got polished concrete flooring, which acts as thermal mass first and foremost, but is also in terms of carbon-wise a good option. We've looked at the life cycle of most of the products in the house. So, for example, the cladding on the outside has been done by, or will be done by, a new company called WeatherTex.
And also we've got solar panels on the roof.
Correct, PV cells.
Yeah, to generate renewable energy for yourself.
We've looked at strategically placing the eaves to ensure that we receive sun during winter, but also minimise the harsh sun during summer. And in addition to that, we've looked at placing the windows to maximise cross-ventilation airflow, which would be crucial during summer as well. So it's all about making the most with what's available energy-wise and resource-wise.
And we've also got ceiling fans in all the living rooms and also the bedrooms. That's as well. And also we've got a heat pump too, because we're going to go as an all-electric home. We've incorporated induction cookers and the heat pump because it's electric, and that has a really high exchange of heat output for heat use, for energy use, energy demand. And we've got obviously all LED lights throughout the house as well. It was really important for us to actually talk about materials and your ethics about trying to minimise what's called the embodied energy in the home. So the embodied energy is the amount of material that goes into the manufacturing of the product. And we were lucky enough to find a product called WeatherTex. It's cladding material in a whole range of different formats, and you've been able to choose about 3 different versions that we're going to incorporate onto the cladding of the home. But what's really great about that, it's all out of wood fibre. And it's been pulped together under high compression.
That's right.
And under heat as well. So it takes out all the starch. So it's not termite prone. It actually, because it's come from a forest, it actually can regenerate, and the forests are local or Australian forests as well on the east coast. So, you know, we were really pleased, weren't we, when we you know, found that product. It was fantastic, and that company has also done a lot with their product and promoting it as a carbon neutral product.
You know, in addition to that, I guess specifically for our case, the fact that it's termite resistant or almost termite proof is a huge selling point, because our area is notorious for it. Even in our current house, we've had issues with termites. And also that, I mean, it's very easy to look at all the sustainable features of a house, but if we then tie it back to one of our principles of making it livable, it's one of the easiest maintenance-wise. And this is crucial to me. I mean, you know, I don't look forward to spending every 10 years trying to redo the outside or paint it. I think people like convenience, and so do I. I'm not impartial to it. And WeatherTex was a perfect balance for that. And
we've actually also used Colorbond on the south side, which has a very narrow area, and we've chosen that specifically because we don't want you to be going off and maintaining that, you know, with the additional painting and the like. So Colorbond is really low maintenance as a cladding material, but used appropriately and with other materials can be really, you know, provide a really modern, you know, outlook. That's right. And in the thermal insulation for the place, we've also used post-consumer recycled PET, which is a great thing because you're not going to send any plastic to landfill, you're reusing it for a purpose. And the most critical point through this whole project was just looking at the life cycle of products and learning about that, not just learning about you can buy this product and implement it and save the world a little bit, but not knowing the embodied energy of it and what's gone into it. But now there's far more purpose behind each of the things that are chosen for the house. It feels like making a much bigger difference. For sure. So it's they come as polyester bats, and also they're locally made as well in Melbourne. So it's really good. We're trying to reduce that transport, and we're trying to. I think pretty much we're minimising anything that's being shipped from overseas.
Yeah.
You know, the exposed concrete slab will be sourced locally. And yes, people will say that, well, concrete, you know, has a high embodied energy, and I would agree with that. However, if used well in good passive solar design as thermal mass, and that way and exposed, then you're allowing that winter heat to come through, winter sunshine to come through those windows. The heat will be stored in the thermal mass of the concrete slab, and as the nighttime temperature cools, it will be re-radiated out. And if people actually used exposed slabs in that way, then we would be able to offset some of that embodied energy in the house.
On the note of all these sustainable features, you asked me before about what's my experience been during the design phase, and having someone who is in the industry, not only working but teaching others, and also who's up to date with the current innovative trends as well as technologies and I guess applications, we've been able to see and learn about what we wouldn't have known existed. So WeatherTex is one example, post-user PET, recycle, insulation bats, and these kind of options which we would never have been exposed to. This is one of the greatest benefits of hiring someone who is aware and is in the know for the industry.
Yeah, good. Why is the garden important to you? We've done a fair bit of work on the garden, so can you tell us, you know, what we have worked on and why?
Yeah. First and foremost, the garden is incredibly important to me. I think I have this inner drive to be self-sufficient. That's why I do a lot of the hobbies that I do, and at the same time, I don't want to be living off in the bush away from everything. So to have a garden where I can grow fruits and vegetables and kind of provide for myself was so appealing, and it is one of the driving factors for having use of the land. We could have easily expanded the house to accommodate more land, but I wanted to be able to get something back from the land that we had. And it allowed me to use the rainwater that we would store and kind of use that for something beneficial.
Yeah. So what have we got? You know, tell us a little bit about the design of your garden.
So the garden as itself, we've got a back area which we use for raised garden beds in Unit 2, southwest side, and the east side we've got mounding planting beds. In addition to surrounding canopy trees, we're going to have the dwarf banana tree to provide shading in the summer, but also to fruit hopefully. We're going to have apple orchards as well planted, and a number of fruit trees such as fig and plum. And these have all been highly individually chosen by myself.
Yeah.
But these kind of trees, in addition to the low mound planting beds for annuals, we've kind of been driven off from and based off the food forest permaculture system.
Yeah.
So it's like incorporating different layers of plants to maximise the yield from a given space.
Yeah, that's great. And you don't have much lawn, do you? It's mostly dedicated to either paving or garden beds.
Correct.
Yeah.
Where there could be lawn, I've probably chosen for some kind of plants or food crop, and where there's no ability for that, pave the area for outdoor entertainment and utilities. Yeah,
again to reduce some ongoing maintenance too.
That's right.
So we've got 2 outdoor living areas. We've got one upstairs over the garage and also one downstairs outside the meals area on the north side. So can you tell us about how you see yourself living and using those particular areas? Okay,
it's best to explain if I set the context for why I requested these features in the house. Given my age, and it's no stranger that I tend to like to have friends around a lot, I wanted to have a place that I can entertain people in. And that could be having a party or just having friends around for dinner or barbecue. And the upstairs deck provided that. Every night you'd be treated to a western sunset, and it's a perfect place to have people around and to finish the night off. So that was kind of what I had in mind, envisioned, this entertainment area. And downstairs wise, I kind of had this picture in my mind of waking up on a Saturday morning or even any morning during the week and just having coffee with whoever lives with me there or by myself, and just enjoying the sun while it's out, taking a step out from the day to just enjoy nature. So somewhere outside of the house that's secluded.
Can you also see this as a family home? You're a single person living in the house, and that's what you designed it for. But obviously, we looked at other things, for the future, future-proofing it. Yeah. So, can you see it as a family home in the future?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The purpose of this housing project was to undertake the endeavour as a family. And one of the greatest benefits of that was that we have a variety of different inputs and perspectives of different ages. And it's kind of realised itself into this house that can accommodate different age groups, different requirements. And I can absolutely see myself living here. There's enough space for a family easily. We've made sure to accommodate for that. There's enough space and sustainability to last us into the near future, hopefully. And it's definitely a place that I would love to bring up children, to teach them about the values that I had implemented into the place, and to share with them perspectives on these topics.
That's great. And what I was really intrigued about was when we say it's a small house, they're 17 squares, so they're not tiny houses. Right. But they're certainly a lot smaller than your stock standard houses going in around that area and other areas. But what was really interesting, it's got 2 bedrooms currently. It's got 2 living areas, one downstairs, one upstairs. That living area upstairs we designed specifically so that in the future, if you wanted to convert it into a 3-bedroom property, which you're able to do because we've got enough car spaces, all we need to do is put another wall through there.
Absolutely. And
it converts your current rumpus room that goes out onto the deck into a bedroom. Yeah. So it's about recognising that you don't have that need at the moment, but in the future you might want to convert that into a bedroom. So yeah, that was a key thing as well, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And I think part of having a smaller home, and when I say smaller, it's relative to the surrounding area.
Yes, yeah.
Is you have the flexibility. It's much easier to make changes, and you don't need to lock yourself into a structure that may be impractical for the future. So like you said, we can easily add a wall in and a 3rd bedroom, and we can make use of different rooms for different purposes. It's really about having adaptability.
And I think also because it's a small house, what we really needed to be mindful, a smaller house, what we really needed to be mindful of is also about how to capture as much storage area as possible.
That's right.
So we, instead of having an open stairwell, we've closed the stairwell and partitioned it in a couple of parts, so you can actually access under the platform section as well as under the higher part of the house as well for your storage of your goodies, your toys.
Absolutely.
And look, just another thing about the sustainability. Across Australia we need to design and build homes that achieve a minimum of 6-star thermal efficiency standard. But that doesn't take into account good passive solar design principles, and it doesn't take into account generation of renewable energy, and it doesn't take into account really good shading devices and a whole range of things. And they're things that we've incorporated into your home. Yes, we have well exceeded the building regulation requirement, well exceeded the 6-star energy rating requirement, but also the passive solar design principles we've incorporated will help you achieve a much more comfortable home to live in.
Absolutely.
For now and into the future as well. And what's really important, it's also going to help reduce your ongoing running costs of the home as well, which we're all pretty happy about that, I'm sure. But yeah, some of the extra things that we've applied, the exposed concrete slab, as I said, the thermally broken double glazed windows, the shading devices of those, the ceiling fans and all of the roof, much lower LED requirements than is allowed even under the regulations. Your generation of your renewable energy on the roof and also the rainwater tanks and the induction cookers, we could go with an electric one. And the reason why we wanted to go with induction because it is really efficient.
Absolutely.
And also then to finish off, we'll be putting in, healthy paints and varnishes for, the timbers and the concrete flooring and the like, where we use those too as well. Because one of the other aspects for both of you was also to have a healthy home.
That's right.
So, we're using products that, will help to minimise any allergies around the home. We're incorporating design features to ensure that dust generation is minimised. And, so hopefully not only will it be, sustainable and livable, but also a healthy home for all of the occupants as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Look, it's been a fantastic journey, I must say. From my perspective, it's also been a really wonderful journey as well, because you came and met me at the Sustainable Living Festival,
Yep.
where I had a stand, and I continue to have a stand every year. And that's a really great festival because it's an opportunity for people to go and see what's on offer, how they can live their lifestyles in a more sustainable manner.
Yeah.
And hopefully go away with some good ideas to implement. And the benefit of that was actually us meeting and the whole family, because I think the whole family pretty much came in. And also then I invited you to come and have a look at my house, which I designed a long time ago, but which is a contemporary house, and that's where we are now. But I also have that open for Sustainable House Day as well, so people can come in, get ideas, see what a sustainable house can look like. The thing is, it doesn't need to be there's nothing wrong with it, but it doesn't need to be rammed earth or mud brick or straw bale.
Yeah.
It's about how you design good sustainable principles through passive solar design, first and foremost, and then incorporate room zoning and orientation, the location of those rooms to bring in that winter sun, but important for our climate to prevent the summer sun coming through as well.
That's right.
So yeah, it's been a really great journey, and I've really enjoyed it. So thank you.
No, thank you,
Thanks a lot.
It definitely. Okay, so a number of things have to line up for it to be a positive experience. One of those was that we were able to click personality-wise, so values and I guess principles and what we want, the ambitions. Second thing was that I never felt like I had to whip you to get you to work, which is critical. I didn't feel like you were lazing off. In fact, I felt like, and you still do, I feel like you still work crazy hours sometimes, and potentially probably pushing me sometimes to get a response and an action, which is great actually, because it means I feel like it's moving ahead as fast as it can. The other thing is, in addition to connecting on a values level and a work ethic level, we've also, to some degree, established more than just like business relationship. It's friends.
Yes.
So I met your family, you met mine, you introduced us to your house and showed us around where you live, which is, it's very personal. And I think a lot of people wouldn't be open to doing that. Not only because they may not be able to walk the walk, but they may not be willing to put themselves out there on the line. So to have you invested emotionally in a project puts a lot of trust in me for you, and I wouldn't have chosen anyone else. I didn't think of anyone else who gave it off that persona and that level of openness, like handedness. So it's critical that we connected on all those aspects, and we absolutely did. And just the whole process has been quite pleasant. It's been, to say the least, it's been great to learn about the process of building a house. I think you've made it as enjoyable a first time experience as you can, and there's been obstacles along the way, as any project has. But yeah, you've been really wonderful, and I really genuinely wouldn't hesitate to recommend you to people.
Terrific. Thank you.
No, you're most welcome.
Thanks. Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Thank you.